Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today we're going to talk about boosting. There's a lot of big debate happening at the moment. The main news is that some semi-pro players that are trying to make a name in the scene have been banned for a year for boosting. Now, of course, this is understandable. Boosting is against the terms of service, so we're going to be talking about the problems there. Also, sort of going over the debate and discussion that it's caused in the community. There's some really good stuff that people have said, and a lot of problems with how Blizzard have gone about it. We'll also be answering some discussions and some things that I see quite a lot. The main question being, why was Philadelphia Fusion Sado banned a lot longer than OGE from Dallas Fuel when they were both boosting? And then we'll talk about the main stem of the problem of why so many people may be turning to boosting instead of doing other things within Overwatch. But just to stress, if they did that, they are well within their right to be banned for a certain amount of time that Blizzard deems. Now the players in question are Kaluge and Gator, who used to play for Goats. Goats were a team that made a name for themselves recently, coming through in the Overwatch Invitationals like Beat, and actually winning out tournaments against the likes of NRG and Philadelphia Fusion's University squad. So they're really taking control of this meta and doing well. However, two of the players from that squad that I just mentioned are actually being banned for a year. Now there's no actual statement about this. The news came to me from Jane and XQC that went and posted about this, so I went to look at who this was on. However, typing something in like Kaluge banned for boosting into Google brings you to Overwatch TMC, which is more of a meme website, so there's no official statement, but if you are from Overwatch TMC, hey guys, how are you doing? So this is one thing that just sort of maybe went under the radar for a lot of people, but I do feel like it's a big discussion that people should be having. Now the question is, should you be banned for boosting? As we've gone over, you should be for sure, you're breaking terms of service. However, it's more the severity of the punishments that these players are getting. And I do think that XQC, when he tweeted about this, sums this up pretty well. No shade at Blizzard, but I think suspending two Overwatch League players for a couple games under the pretext of boosting and then banning two amateur players for a year sends the wrong message. Now the general gist of this is pretty appropriate from XQC, but the main things that you want to point out is that Sado and OG weren't just banned for a couple of games. OGE from Dallas Fuel was for sure. When he came into Dallas Fuel, somebody accused him and pointed out that he was a booster in Korea. Obviously there was evidence there, and Blizzard decided to ban him for the starting few matches of, I think it was stage 2 or stage 3. But Sado was banned for the first 30 games for boosting. Now the main question is, why were those punishments different for OGE and Sado? Well, Sado was one of the head honchos from a boosting service in Korea. I don't think he was the main guy there, but he was one of the main people that ran the system as opposed to partook in it, like OGE did. OGE was more of an employee and Sado was the employer. That's the difference there. But the main area is that these players partaking in boosting were banned for a year, when Sado, who was one of the main people behind it, in the top tier by the way, was only banned for 3 stages. Does the punishment fit the crime in this situation, and should it be the same across all the tiers instead of the Overwatch League players getting a bit of an easier time than some of the amateur players? I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say with that, so put it in the comments below. How severe do you think the punishment should be? Do you think it's just for the people in the Overwatch League, and is it just for the players like Kaluge and Gator that are banned for a lot longer than that? Boosting in Korea is a big social problem. This was actually on top of the competitive Overwatch subreddit, and it shows that the top 10 teams, a good amount of them, were boosting accounts. Not only that, you have examples of like the Korean casters failing to mention OGE's name at all, pretending that he's not mentioned him by name because obviously he's seen so negatively in that country and seen so negatively by those people in that scene. So boosting in Korea is a very big deal, and it's interesting to see that Blizzard are trying to implement similar sort of stances in the West too. But interestingly enough, Jane actually came into the talk about why these players are resorting to boosting in the first place. The first tweet is basically saying how unfortunate it is, but he goes on to say, I personally know quite a few individuals who turn to boosting or account selling in order to make ends meet, since there was, and still is in some cases, no money in the tier 2 or tier 3 scene. We need to provide legit ways for people to support themselves whilst trying to go pro. Extreme punishment will not stop boosting. Boosting is a symptom of an underdeveloped semi-pro scene, and we need to provide alternatives if we really want to stop it. Now this is somewhat true. I certainly feel that there's underdevelopment in the tier 2 or tier 3 scene. I definitely agree there, and Jane sees more of that being a coach from one of the Oceanic teams in Contenders Season 1. I think boosting's going to be present regardless of how developed or underdeveloped the semi-pro scene is, but he does go on to highlight a article from LA Gladiators Bishu basically saying that he only had $80 in his bank account before he was signed to Gladiators, Sure, the Overwatch League is well-developed, multi-million-dollar league that is really supporting and helping and making sure that their players are looked after, but everything below contenders is really difficult to gauge on how pros get through. Most people know how the Open Division works now, and how the path to pro works. The Open Division is open to any team, and they go through like a round-robin system, playing 10 games. The top 10 teams in that matchmaking system go on into a knockout stage, and those teams that win out the Open Division, 4 of them, go up against the worst teams that get relegated from contenders to decide who should be in it for the next season. For the European scene, there were just over 1,000 teams that signed up to Open Division, going for 12 slots. Not even 12 slots. 4 slots, because they're the ones available for the relegation spots. So as you can imagine, the scene is very competitive, but Open Division doesn't come around every single time. It's played over the period of 5 weeks, but then there's a bigger downtime between each of the Open Divisions because of the contender seasons, right? So basically, if a team doesn't get into contenders, they have to wait until the next Open Division, and if there's no tournaments or no money to play for, if people are really putting their effort into playing competitively, they'll have no money. But there needs to just be more financial incentive in the lower tiers. There needs to be more Overwatch pits and B tournaments that include the tier 2 and tier 3 scene teams with those prize pools. Because if there's more money in the lower scenes, then more organizations are going to pick up these orgless and hungry teams in order to nurture talent and squads going forward. So in this regard, Jane is right. The tier 2 and tier 3 scene, I feel, needs more money and development in them, more tournaments, more stuff, not only for people to play, but also people to cast. There just needs to be more development at the lower scene other than just the path to pro, I feel. That's a great official way of doing it, but you want stuff alongside like lands, more lands, those kind of areas to really incentivize growth in the bottom tiers. Otherwise, you're just going to run into more people that are going to be using boosted to make ends meet. And I'm not saying that's right or that's allowed in that sense. I'm not making excuses for these players, but to understand why this is happening, why this is a problem, we need to look at what may be causing it in that regard. But do, again, let us know what you think of this. It's a very touchy debate, I suppose, but I did want to highlight some of the big things that have been said, the reaction to this, and go over that boosting is still a really big problem. But that's everything I wanted to go over. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really does help the channel out a lot. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.